Welcome to the SmartQA series webinar titled 7 Thinking Tools to Test Rapidly. My name is Ashok Thiruvengadam and I will be doing the webinar today. Two phrases some people use to describe our practice are manual testing and automated testing. And here is the Cambridge Dictionary definition of manual. Something that is done with hands. Something that involves physical work rather than mental work. Some people have a terrible way with words. It's time we used intellectual and tool supported so that we think well and exploit tools to do their job. Now, in current times, speed is everything, right? So what can we do to test quickly? Use tools, automate, right? But wait a minute, this is largely about execution, right? What about prior activities? To answer this, let's ask the basic question. What's testing after all? Testing really is exploration, scientific exploration. And exploration is an intensely human activity, aided by tools and technology. So, how can we do scientific exploration rapidly? By using tools that help us think better and do faster. Now, we all know there are a variety of test tools that help us automate the system setup, the execution, perform static analysis, do reporting, management, etc. At different phases of life cycle to do faster. Now let's examine tools that help us think better. So, what's the first thing you do before you embark on an exploration? Well, you do a survey. Reconnaissance, really. And so let's discuss the thinking tool number 1, landscaper. And what does this do? It helps us perform a survey. Do a survey to understand the big picture. So what does big picture involve? Well, it starts with understanding who are the end users, the persona. So taking an example for like an e-learning system, some of the examples of persona could be the administrator of the system, the student who uses the system, the supervisor of the student who allocates courses to the students, and so on. Next, we want to understand what are the various entities in the system under test. What do you want to test? Now, they could be small things like components or the big things like business flows. Or it could be things like technical features, or it could be like user requirements. So at different levels of granularity. For example, there could be a simple feature called create a user. There could be a user's requirement of, look, I need to take the various lessons in the course. Or it could be a full flow where we complete a course by taking it and do the final assessment. Thirdly, the survey involves understanding the attributes. What do you want to test for? Other than functionality, there could be other things like performance, like being able to migrate to prior versions. So all these are really attributes. What do you want to test for? And finally, the environment. Where do you want to test this on? For example, it could be combinations of different OS or browsers or database, so on and so forth. So this thinking tool number 1, landscaper, is primarily getting the lay of the land to get the big picture. And this really is about who, what for, and where. So now that you've done the survey, what's next? Well, we'll create maps to guide you and chalk out various routes so that we can explore. And let's go to the next tool, the persona map. What is this supposed to do? This thinking tool is to help you map out who uses what. Remember, we survey to understand who, and then we survey to understand what. And all we're doing in this persona map is to set up a connection so that we clearly know who uses what. That is, as a student, what are the things that I do? As an administrator, what are things that I do? And therefore, we get a perspective to evaluate the software from various user endpoints. And what this really becomes is really this little table, if you will. And here, as you see, on the y-axis is the various personas. On the x-axis, the various, in this case, features. So I'm mapping who uses what features. So when I put a star, it simply means that the course admin uses create user, and so on. And this is the first map. The second map is a scope map to understand the user's expectations of the various entities. So we are mapping what to test for what. What to test is entities, for what is really the attributes, and that's all we're trying to do, map out users' expectations. Another map, which on the y-axis are the various attributes, and on the x-axis are all the various entities. Remember, it could be features or requirements or flows or lower level components. So what does this mean? This really means, hey, this attribute to migration is supposed to be satisfied by this, in this case, the feature called create user. So there is a requirement that we must be able to migrate all the prior created users in the new version. So what next? Oh, understand interactions. What is interactions? As we all know that the various entities in the system, be it the features or the components or the requirements or the flows, are not freestanding. Changing one may affect the others. And therefore, as the software evolves and the entities are modified, we want to know which ones to retest. So this map is to help us intelligently regress, to help us understand which feature may affect what other feature. A change of, let's say, a feature 1, would it affect some other flow? And that's what this picture is about. Another simple map, which again has x-axis, y-axis, where both the x-axis and the y-axis lists down the various entities. Maybe it could be feature 2 affects feature 1. Lastly, the tool number 5 is about maps to help us understand the environments, to map out the various environments that we want to test on, which is really a combination of all the various elements of the environment. We want to test it on this operating system using this browser, for example, if it is a UI or a client kind of an environment. So what have we done? We've done a bit of survey and created maps. What kind of maps have we done? Remember, we've done persona maps, we've done scope maps, we've done interaction map, and then we've done an environment map. So what do we do next? Well, we're kind of ready to chalk out the routes so that we can get to the next stage of exploration. So what is chalking out of routes? It's really coming up with scenarios, the act of design. And once we have the first cut, we're ready to explore. So in this tool, Scenario Creator, the objective is to create scenarios. A good suggested practice would be to organize these scenarios into various entities. Obviously, we know that we have component level scenarios, feature level scenarios, and so on. So what do these level 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 9 mean? It simply means that we want to organize test cases into various quality levels. For example, at lower level, the scenarios primarily deal with validation of inputs, like these. Whereas as we go up, the scenarios at a level 4 would primarily be to validate functional behavior. So in HBT, the act of robust test design is about clearly coming up with scenarios which validate for certain specific acts of criteria of cleanliness, which is stated as a level 1 cleanliness, level 2 cleanliness, and so on. Are the inputs correct? Is the interface that inputs correct? Are the structure that the way is the internal structure that is used to build the application, is it correct? Is the behavior correct? And so on and so forth. Now that you're ready to explore, understand that the map is not really the terrain. So as you explore, observe, learn, adapt, improvise, and refine. And so what do we do when we observe, learn, adapt, improvise, and refine? We refine the landscape, we refine the maps, we refine the routes continuously. And that's how it becomes better and better and better as we go on. Okay, so now that we have done the exploration, what is next? It is rest and recover. Stop, analyze, and refine. That's where the last tool, dashboard, comes into picture. It's primarily about, hey, let's stop, analyze, and refine. And what do we analyze? The adequacy. I mean, are our scenarios good enough? So we're primarily interested in understanding, hey, I've tried to look at it from various user points, for all the attributes, tried it from all environments, do you have scenarios at all levels, is the distribution of positive, negative, okay, and so on. And so we're just trying to look at whether the maps and the routes that we created, really the inputs, would they be good enough? Second, the progress. Are we on track? Same thing. But then we use the execution information also to make analysis of how are we doing with respect to evaluating from the angle of the persona. Have we tested it from this persona for that attribute and so on. So it's really progress of our activity. Plan versus actual. And what's next? The evaluation of how good is the system, the actual quality. And these are really the outcomes. Same stuff. So we are trying to evaluate the outcome from how well are the attributes satisfied, how well does it work on various environments, how good are these entities in terms of cleanliness, and so on and so forth. So you see, I'm trying to use the same metaphor of the information that we aggregated from maps and routes to find out, are they good enough? Are we doing good enough? Is the outcome good enough? And this is what we do by using the tool called dashboard, by looking for these three broad categories of information so that we analyze and refine. So let's summarize our scientific exploration using the 7 tools to think better. The first set of these 5 tools is primarily for reconnaissance. The act of doing a survey using the landscaper and constructing the maps using the tools 2 to 5, which is really persona map, scope map, interaction map, and environment. So that we are ready to explore. To do that, we end up creating scenarios using the scenario creator. And while doing so, we're constantly observing, learning, and refining. And periodically we take stops to rest and recover, to analyze and refine, done using the last tool, the dashboard. So how can one apply this? By using a session-based approach. And this is titled as Immersive Session Testing, or IST. And what we do in this is to look at the act of evaluation of software as a 3-phased approach of reconnaissance, exploration, and rest and recover, done in short sessions of 60 to 90 minutes, where a session may be exclusively one of these phases, like just reconnaissance. It could be a mixture of a bit of reconnaissance and exploration. It could be only exploration, or it could be a mixture of, again, exploration and rest and recover, and so on. Why 60 to 90 minutes? To ensure that we stay focused. Being a short webinar, I'm sorry I won't be able to go into great details into this approach of immersive session testing. Hopefully another webinar will follow sometime. These tools outlined here and more will be available as a SaaS tool titled Do SmartQA shortly. We are keen to trial this with select users, so if you are interested, please do email me at ash@stagsoftware.com. Now, we did conduct a poll some time ago on SmartQA asking a few questions. I think about 6 questions. And here are some results of the poll. We asked what are the percentage that people thought by the total bugs found by automated suites. And interestingly, about less than 25% is what people said. 2/3 of the people said from automated tests. The others said it's about 25 to 50%. So what does it help us understand? Well, about a maximum of half of the bugs are probably found by the automated tests. So it is kind of necessary to complement this. While the non-automated tests that I do are, about 72% said are planned plus a bit of ad hoc, on the fly. Whereas about 1/5 of them said, hey, the non-automated tests are typically on the fly. I don't really do planning. Now we asked further, the on-the-fly tests that I typically do are, and 28% said it's only exploratory. Whereas about 62% said it's a mixture of both exploratory and ad hoc, based on luck. And we asked them further down, well, how do you do it? Does the on-the-fly test, do they use session-based approach? And half of them said, yep, yes, we do. And lastly, we asked an opinion question. Is extreme automation the way to great quality with hopefully less or no human effort in testing? It's interesting that about 3/4 of them disagreed. So there is possibly a need for human intellect to deliver great quality. Thank you so much for listening to me. I hope you found the SmartQA series webinar 7 Thinking Tools to Test Rapidly useful. As I said, if you're interested in trying out the Do SmartQA SaaS tool, which should be available shortly, please do email me at ash@stagsoftware.com. And do look at our channel SmartQA. There are some very interesting videos. Please do subscribe to them. Thank you and have a good day.